Big episode today. We have a big announcement to make, actually. We're going to go over the Ball State of the Union draft and how you fans voted on that. And of course, you saw from the thumbnail an interview with the legend, Drew Plitt. Let's get right into it. Play that music. We're talking Ball State, Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State, Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells, Schumann, Bell Tower, and Worthen. Fans all over from Muncie to Berlin, getting Concanons, Carters, and Greeks. All right, Colin, it is Monday, December 23rd. Santa Claus will be coming down your chimney real soon, but before he does, I have a big announcement to make for the show. You probably saw this yesterday. Some people probably saw it, but look, you can now find Ball State of the Union not only on YouTube, but on Spotify as well. We've been getting some requests for audio only, so Spotify is now the audio only home of Ball State of the Union. Colin, we're expanding cross platforms now. What do you think?
That's huge, brother. If they want to get that, we're talking Ball State on Spotify. Now they can. We're
It's
here.
there. We're there. So hey, if you're listening to us, if you can hear my voice on YouTube or Spotify or wherever, be sure to subscribe and follow on both those pages. Also, whenever we have new videos come out, interact with them. Leave us a like. Throw a comment on there. Anything that people can do to interact with the show is going to help push it out to more people, and we can get this bigger and bigger and bigger. So we appreciate all the awesome feedback we've gotten so far. We're going to keep pumping out as much content as we can. If you see a video on X or on Facebook or wherever else I'm posting them, share it. Let your friends know. Tell a friend, tell a Cardinal, tell whoever you can find. Tell your neighbor. It'd be greatly appreciated. Colin, I know you do a good job of that, but just for everyone out there, it'll help us out greatly.
Definitely spread the content, get it as far as we can, grow the community,
and keep chirping.
Yep.
All right, hey, Ball State of the Union draft. We got our results in. Oh, I gotta grab some. You talk about the draft real quick. I'll be right back. I gotta grab something.
Well, here's the thing, guys. John's going to talk about it a little bit more, but I got cooked. I'm wondering really what was the pick that solidified my loss. And I'm thinking it might have been Chavez, but we'll dig into it. John, I got to eat crow today. Congrats. You had a good draft.
I'm sorry. I don't know if my Ball State of the Union championship is reflecting off the light too much. I got to throw the sunglasses on. My mistake. But yes, I am your inaugural Ball State of the Union draft champion for 2024. Everyone throw up the ones. Acknowledge me. It was a decisive blowout. But it was a great time. I had a great time doing it. Like you said, I think the turning point in the draft was the Chavez pick. I think that was the Chavez pick. Now, I appreciate you sticking to your guns and picking. Don't pander. We don't want to pander in the drafts. We want to pick what is our true choices. I think if you had taken like Greeks or Puertas, I think it would have been pretty close because I think the rest of your draft was pretty solid, especially Happy Friday Guy. Happy Friday Guy caught me completely off guard. When I had the category as non-football player, I just naturally assumed it would be an athlete, but you came in with a curveball and caught me off guard with Happy Friday Guy. So that was a pretty good pick. Now, a couple notable omissions in the honorable mentions section. I want to go through two of them real quick. One of them was passed to me during the draft by my wife, but I didn't see it. She put a Post-it note on my desk. The Help Stop Violence guy who's outside of the Bracken Library is definitely a pick that if I had remembered or realized that was a way we could have gone with the draft, I would have had the Help Stop Violence guy in there because we have to help stop violence. Help stop violence. I know you know the Help Stop Violence guy.
He might have been there here and there. We had some people out there with like megaphones yelling, but they were a little more aggressive than the Help Stop Violence guy. I don't remember him too much, but just off his off the videos you've shown me and whatnot, he sounds like a legend.
Oh, Help Stop Violence guy. He once or twice a year he'd be outside the library with it. He had a little megaphone and he would just hand out pamphlets. It was like about people with product testing and I guess I didn't really help stop violence, so I kind of feel bad about that now. But
well, it is a good mission, honestly. But I could tell when I was there, he might have been gone because people were getting rocked outside the Brothers, just like right on that street, eating punches.
So the other omission was actually from my brother. He was at Ball State about 4 or 5 years before I was, and there was a reality TV show that was filmed in Muncie. So basically at Ball State, it was called Armed and Famous. I don't know if you've ever heard of the show. I think it only ran one season. So it took some like B and C, more like C level celebrities, and they like made them honorary police officers in the Muncie PD, and they went around as a reality show just kind of filming them. They had Trish Stratus, the professional wrestler, I think Wee Man, a crazy characters out there. And yeah, so I don't know where that would have fallen in the category, but yeah, Armed and Famous was a great pick as well that I just completely forgot that even existed. So it was great seeing all the people's suggestions online of things that could have been in there as well. And who knows, maybe we'll do another one next year and we'll expand it and have more people involved.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who voted. I mean, I lost, but it was a blast, and I think people were receptive to it, so I think it
Yeah,
was good.
it was a good time. All right, I got a couple things before we get into our big interview. I want to talk a little basketball like I always try to do. There were some blowouts, men's and women's basketball. They beat some ass this week. Let me pop up on here on the screen so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. What do you want to start with? You want to start with men's basketball or women's basketball? Which would you prefer?
Let's do ladies first.
Ladies first. Okay, we talked about that community night a lot, and they came out with this. I know you can see this here. Let's pop it up here.
Yeah.
Look at this score, 112-35. They got that arena packed out. They had $1 tickets, and they put a whooping on Anderson, 112-35.
Wow.
Crazy win. Obviously, they're a big step up in competition from where Anderson would be, but anytime you put up 100 points in a college basketball game, that's pretty impressive. So good job to the women's basketball team. I don't know that. So it says right here, it's their largest margin of victory in program history. I don't believe that they broke their attendance record, but you know what? And we'll take a different record that they were able to beat there.
If you look on the right too on that side of the screen, a lot of it seemed pretty balanced. They had 4 players, I think over 13 points. Yeah,
Yeah, right there. Yep.
they did a good job of moving it around, spreading it around.
Yeah. So good job to the ladies. I'm sure they're going to have a next game is on New Year's Day actually at Miami of Ohio. So keep an eye out on what they got going on New Year's Day. I know there'll be a lot of sports going on. There'll be college football. There'll be all kinds of stuff going on. But let's talk about guys basketball or men's basketball. Excuse me, not boys basketball, men's basketball. They I was a little hard on them the last week or two, but they have really kind of starting to find their stride a little bit more, like what we saw in that Florida tournament earlier in the year. They play in-state rival Evansville yesterday, and they smoked them as well. They almost doubled them up, winning 80-43. Peyton Sparks, big day, 20 points. And our guy, Fat Hill, which you can see kind of in this photo right here. I'll break it down for those who aren't watching the game, and if we have any listeners on Spotify, I'll kind of describe it here. Fat Hill had 2 big, nasty dunks. He had one breakaway big tomahawk dunk, and then he had another one shortly after that where he hit a nice windmill right in the middle of the game. And I had put out on Twitter, obviously his name's Fat Hill, so I called it the Fat Mill for the windmill that he threw down. But it was a sweet dunk. So they, clamping someone down to 43 points in a basketball game in college is pretty good, and 80 points, so almost doubling them up. I like that. Hopefully we can keep this train rolling going into conference play. They have one more game, I believe, on New Year's Eve against Anderson as well. So if the women's game's any indication of how these Anderson games are going to go, then I like our chances in that one as well.
Yeah,
all right.
all Hoosier battles. We're getting the W's in the Hoosier state. It means more here.
That's right. In 49 other states, it's just basketball, as they like to say. All right. I got one more. No, we got some Ball State quarterback news before we go into appropriately our interview with a legend in the Ball State quarterback game. So I got 2 notes here. We're going to probably next week or the week after have another interview with somebody who's going to really help us dive into the recruiting and portal news that we can get, and he can kind of give us a more in-depth look at the whole picture of everything. But I found 2 things interesting so far. Number one, well, I guess 3 things. One, which we talked about with Chris Radican last week, Kyle Kelly is indeed coming back. Number 2, Caden Samanza, MAC Freshman of the Year, you would think would have found a home pretty quickly. I haven't seen anything yet on him. Have you seen anything of where he may or may not be going?
I haven't. I'm curious where he heads to, but I haven't heard anything. I hope he comes back, although I'm happy if we just get Kyle because we weren't using him right.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can use Kyle Kelly right, we'll be fine. If we get Caden Samanza back, we'll be fine. If we can get this guy that you're about to talk to us about, we'll be
Wait,
fine too. So
let me
I
throw him
like
up here
that we
for you.
have our backup plan. I like that we have, another plan. I don't want to relegate Kyle Kelly to a backup plan because
Mm-hmm.
I think he's phenomenal. He could be QB1, and I'd certainly be fine if he was QB1. But I just like the fact that we're building. We have a lot of options. It could go anywhere. I'm excited.
So who Colin is alluding to here is Walter Taylor. So this photo came out, I believe, yesterday. It's Walter and somebody else on the snowy Schumann Stadium field, which we saw a lot of these photos in the last couple of days come out of people taking pictures out. It almost looks like they have like a lightsaber type thing with them, just kind of like a cool light
Yeah.
thing. But we've seen a lot of these pictures the last few days of people coming to Schumann Stadium on a visit in the snow and announcing their recruitments or announcing their commitments to Ball State. So this photo came out. Now there's no words associated with it as well, but all of the comments down here in the bottom are kind of indicating that this might be some sort of commitment announcement. So for those of you who don't know, Walter Taylor, he was, I believe, a 3-star quarterback. I had read something yesterday where someone had listed as a 4-star. I can't find that anywhere else. But he previously played at Vanderbilt, and then this last year he was a backup at Colorado. So obviously Colorado, Deion Sanders, and he was backing up Shedeur Sanders. So 6'5", 235, pretty big guy. So, I don't know a ton about him, but his size, places he's played indicates that he has to be, somewhat of a serious player here for us. So if this is indeed true, which again, I'll get in the speculation game whenever I need to. If you want me to get into speculation, speaking of speculation, our main speculator, Justin Bowick, going to Illinois, I did see. So congratulations, Justin. You beat us on the recruiting game here. So we couldn't quite nail that one down.
We were off on that. We're
off just slightly. But anyways, so Walter Taylor, I'm sure we'll find out more soon, but it would be another interesting addition to the quarterback room if this were to come true.
Yeah, he looks so big that I'm hoping number 17 is an actual football player, but he makes him look like a little person in this.
Yeah.
So I hope he comes because he looks huge.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's like his little brother or family member or whoever it could be, but yeah, it could be interesting. So this quarterback room a couple weeks ago had nobody in it, and before too long, we could have a few good players in there. So speaking of the quarterback room at Ball State, without further ado, let's get into it. Our wonderful interview we have with the legend, Drew Plitt.
The GOAT.
All right. We've been teasing a big interview for you guys. And here it is. You can see on the screen right here. 2020 MAC champion, 2020 Arizona Bowl champion. He's number 9. Drew Plitt, ladies and gentlemen. Drew, thanks for joining us. How are we doing today?
Thanks, guys. I'm doing well. Appreciate you guys having me on. This is awesome. Always love to speak to fellow Ball State Cardinals. So thanks for having me on.
Yep, no problem. Hey, Christmas is right around the corner here. You guys got any big family plans? I know your sister played volleyball at Ball State as well. So we know a little bit about your family just from stuff we've seen everywhere. You guys have any big plans?
A lot of competition. We're actually all going down to Florida, and a lot of games we played. So the family definitely likes to compete, likes to challenge each other. We've got an older brother who likes to join in on the action as well. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. Really excited, doing some traveling, and a lot of fun stuff. How about you guys?
Well, I actually live in Florida. So what part of Florida are you guys going to be in?
Anna Marie Island.
Okay. Yeah. So that's not super close to me, but I live just like a little bit north of Fort Lauderdale. So,
okay.
Colin, what about you?
I'm just traveling to see the in-laws in VA. So,
oh yeah, that's right. Major. You did say that.
Yeah.
Well, so this kind of gets right into where I wanted to start. Are you talking about your family and competition? So you're growing up in a household, you have athletes in your house, your parents are both coaches. What type of impact did that kind of household have on you at a young age, kind of to help develop your love for sports and football in general? And did it kind of help you get a little bit of a head start on some other kids with just all the sports all the time, basically, that was in your house?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a massive impact. I mean, older brother, was into sports earlier than I was, obviously, and same thing with my sister. We were the two boys. We were traveling around to baseball, football, and basketball tournaments. And my sister was getting drug along, so she was kind of impacted in that way. But for me, it was massive in just seeing kind of the grind of what my parents were doing. I mean, they both worked super hard, and they would, in their free time, wanted to be around sports. So naturally we were around that. And then we came to the competition. That's kind of, nobody was ever given wins in our house,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was a board game or a sporting event, it was always competition. And, if you won, you got the bragging rights, and it was kind of ate at the rest of us as siblings. And my parents, they never let us win either. So playing basketball in the side yard or whatever, my dad wouldn't let us win no matter how old we were. Even now, he doesn't like to let us win. So we still give him crap for it. And, he says he's given up and retired from competing, but he still gets upset if he doesn't win. So
never. Competitors never retire.
No, you can't. You can't. But that's definitely had a massive impact on me, and it carried with me throughout all of my career.
Okay. So, we kind of talked about your early age. We'll go on a little bit here. You get into high school. Loveland Tigers, perfect season in 2013, state champions. Only state championship in school history for football, correct?
For football, yeah. That was the first time ever been and made it through the second round of the playoffs for really any sport that year.
Okay.
Now, were you a quarterback that year? Were you other positions?
Mm-hmm.
I played receiver, punt returner for the first 3-4 games, and then became a quarterback. I had kind of competed for the job in camp. And then that quarterback who beat me out at the beginning of the year, they moved him out to receiver. I played quarterback, and he actually went on to play receiver and tight end at Western Michigan, and then has kind of bounced around in the NFL as well.
Okay, who is it?
Gio Ricci.
Gio Ricci. Okay. So I guess kind of just walk us through. We won't spend too much time in the high school because obviously it's a Ball State podcast. It's kind of where we're going to go. But I am curious, what was that day like? If you walk us through that day when you won the state championship, like kind of the highs that you got from that, because obviously you've done a handful of you had a handful of other kind of winning seasons as the years have gone on. But that maybe like the first taste of that really like that high of winning a championship.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the first time that I realized I wanted to pursue football past high school. Before that, I'd wanted to play basketball. It was kind of like and it still is like a love of mine to just pick up a basketball and go play, and always will be. But going through that season, playing that game, I'd always wanted to play in it ultimately came down to the snow. Like I love when it snows, and I wanted to always play in a snow football game, and I hadn't done it, and really haven't. A true game like that, if you go watch the highlights, it was almost like a blizzard. Like it snowed the entire time. They were kind of like the Thursday night Browns game a couple weeks back where they were cleaning the field like in between plays and stuff. That's what they were doing. So it was just kind of a dream come true scenario. Perfect season, all came together, and it really pushed me to pursue football past high school, and that was kind of the starting point of me getting recruited as well, and pursuing that dream, which was a blessing in itself.
Yeah, that was actually my next question, but you kind of just answered it. Was when you started kind of getting that attention from those college programs. So you start getting this attention from colleges. Obviously, we know you end up going to Ball State, but what all places showed interest in you, and then what ultimately sold you on coming to Ball State?
Yeah, so Ball State really wasn't even looking for a quarterback in my class. I had been done about 40 to 50 workouts for coaches in the spring of my junior year, where basically coaches come in, I go throw up the high school turf, had like 2 receivers that came up, and they did an awesome job for me. Try to get recruited, and really had little to no traction in getting offers. And then finally had one pop with Lafayette College, but probably a day before Joey Lynch had reached out to me. It was like, hey, some things are kind of changing here. I think spring ball had just finished up. Things were changing at Ball State. Somebody had transferred out that they didn't expect to transfer out, and somebody else left. So they were like, we're actually now looking for a quarterback in your class want to come see you work out. So I went and worked out the next day, and 2 days later, he gave me an offer. So having that first with Ball State, having the first like FBS offer was a big, that was kind of a big tell for me. I mean, they came in late, they weren't looking for somebody, but when Joey saw me throw and like within 2-3 days called me back and wanted to offer me, like that was a telltale sign to me that they cared about me, that they wanted me to be there. Knowing that I could play there, I had interest from most of the MAC. I mean, I had offers from Bowling Green, Eastern Michigan, and then had done the thing where Toledo told me to come up there. They were going to give me an offer, got there and never did. So kind of haunted me a little bit. So I kind of took it out on them in a couple games, but
appreciate that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and then Ball State, like I said, they wanted me right away. That was awesome. Connected really well with Joey. And then I actually had my mom grew up about 30 minutes south of Muncie in Pendleton.
Oh, okay.
So my grandparents were a huge part of my life. And so being able to be close to them was kind of a big push for me as well.
Okay.
So not a lot of people know this, but you used to wear 11 with Ball State before you wore 9.
Man, right? I wore 12, 13, and 11. My freshman year, I was 12. The reason I wore 11 was the next year, that redshirt year, I was still 12. It was the year I was 4th string, and we had all the injuries ended up coming in. It was, we were 2-10 or whatever. I had started the season wearing 12. They didn't have a duplicate number for 12, so they had to give a 13 for pictures. And then when I started dressing and traveling and everything, and I think Corey Lacanario was 11. He had gotten hurt. Justin Hall was 12, so I couldn't play in it when I went and played in games. They were like, you got to wear 11. So I was really, in the roster, I was 12 and wearing 11 on the field. So I was all over the place.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I had a similar scenario. I was a walk-on on the men's volleyball team, a few years before you made it to Muncie, but I was number 17 jersey, but my practice gear was 18, but I was listed as number 19. I was all over the place with it. So yeah, I was everywhere. So we're obviously good to get, to later parts in your career, but tell us about, you kind of alluded to some of it right there, but kind of walk us through the first couple years in Muncie before you really kind of hit the scene, where you took the starting job over.
Yeah. I came in that summer of 16, which, was the first year, that redshirt year. Went through the redshirt season of doing the getting acclimated to school, weightlifting, the whole thing. Never really had a chance to play that year. I mean, Riley was playing well and doing well. So never had that opportunity. Went into coming into spring ball, had some struggles going in there. And so coach knew, we had our ups and downs, and he would shoot me straight, which I always appreciated that from him. He kind of told me, he was like, you got to either figure it out or you're probably not going to be lasting here very long. So that spring kind of started to figure things out. Want to be a better teammate, start playing a lot better, and getting more comfortable with the system and what I was doing. Put a lot more time into it outside of just what the traditional hours were. So coming out of that, had a decent off season, but still kind of sat that 3-4 range with Zach Blair and I'm drawing a blank. Jack Milas were there with Riley as well. So we were, kind of similar quarterback rooms the year before. So I had kind of, just stayed at that 4 position, and then the injuries happened, ended up being able to play, which was awesome. I always felt like, for me, the toughest part of being a backup, you don't get many reps, especially being a 3rd or 4th stringer. You get maybe 1 or 2, in a practice, and it's hard to give your best when you get that 1 or 2. But, going into the game, I always felt like there's not gamers, but there's times where you can kind of people either fold or shine under pressure. And that was my opportunity to shine. I always felt like I did that. So going into that year, we were 2-10, but I felt like I was playing well enough to make a difference. In that season, that 2-10 season was brutal. Trying to enjoy football again. I mean, we went through so many discussions within that locker room about how do you get better? What can we do as a team? What can we do here and that? And it just, getting pulled so many different ways. it was difficult those first 2 years. So I kind of always remembered those first 2 years and what everything took and why it was so bad, and kind of try to do something different as I got to a point where I was able to be a leader, which was kind of that next year where, Riley came in and we competed for the job. He obviously was a veteran, got the job, but again, injuries happen, and was able to go and play, make a significant difference, where the third or fourth year was the year I started taking over and playing as a full-time starter. And again, remembering those difficult years, you can kind of address situations in a different light because you've seen it and been acclimated to a better system.
Okay. So you hear about this term in, the National Football League and the NBA. They call it your welcome to the league moment. What was your welcome to the league moment in your first couple of years at Ball State? It could be on the field, it could be off the field, just kind of anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first game I played in. We were playing Toledo. Zach Blair had started the game. I think it was like 7 plays in. I did not expect to play at all that year. We were down to third string. Zach Blair broke his ankle or something like 7 plays in. And I go in, play. We end up scoring. Then we go on like a 2-minute drill. It's like my third or fourth drive, like a 2-minute drill. Go down the field. I throw a ball and just get laid out. Decked. Like, not like I literally still have not been hit as hard as that this day. Dude ended up getting drafted that next year. He was like a 350-pound nose tackle and landed his whole body weight on me. And I got up, couldn't speak for literally could not talk. I'd had somebody else read a play in the huddle. Couldn't talk the whole time. I was out of breath. And luckily the next play was a handoff, and we kicked a field goal. But that was the welcome to college football. Welcome to, this is big boy ball.
Yeah. Yeah. 350 right up the middle is never anything. No. Never good. You're not going to want that.
That's crazy too, because one of the things I really liked about your game was how elusive you were, and running was actually a decent part of your game. Like, you could pick up a first down pretty easily, just moving to the right. They would even sometimes run you with the option. I was just looking at videos. So
I get some crap for inside my family that I'm not fast, but I was like, I can run the option though.
Yeah.
Hey, so you talked a little bit about your first, few years at school and some of the conversations you and Mike New had, and that was kind of my next question was going to be, you guys came in at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
What was your relationship like back in 2016, and then fast forward to 2021? How did it change over those handful of years, and kind of maybe even what's it like today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it grew quite a bit. I think. We've had some conversations here and there, but I think there was a lot of similarities between me in my play style as it was to Coach New when he played back in the day. And we kind of butted heads. We're both pretty strong-headed, and we kind of butted heads at the beginning because, I wanted to do things my way. He wanted to do things his way. But after a lot of open communication, conversations, tough conversations that were needed by me and by him, we end up, kind of just growing to have a stronger relationship and understanding kind of the needs of each other, what he wanted and what I wanted. There was time I liked, I was really into some different cleats, wearing different stuff. I liked the kind of some of the flash, but, working hard. He was, especially at the beginning, more into earn your stripes, and then you can start doing that, which I understood. So I started doing that. It went from wearing 6 different pairs of cleats over 6 practices to wearing the same pair of cleats for the whole season. And then once I got the starting job, it was kind of, okay, now you can do what you need to do to feel comfortable. And then we had, and that's just little things like that. But then when it comes to having an open conversation, open dialogue amongst the play calling, and kind of planning a game plan within a week, that kind of grew quite a bit, because I would start spending more and more time in the facility, and his, whenever his door was open, I was going in there and talking to him. Same thing with Joey Lynch. I mean, going in there and speaking with him and really seeing it from their side of things, why we're doing it. When you can understand why a play caller's calling a play, you can get a better feel for when, what's coming up, what to expect, and really be kind of on the same page where you understand what's happening in the flow of the game. So that was always an awesome thing amongst us, that we were able to have that open dialogue and that relationship that not many people get to have.
Sure. Can you tell us about 2020 and 2021 and what the 2020 was a great year. We win the MAC, we win our first bowl game, and then it seemed like you came back, Justin Hall came back, and then 2021 we go 6-6 and lose the bowl game.
Yeah.
And even though that happened, that's still probably the last, good year for Ball State. So I'm curious what was different and why we haven't been able to return to that.
Yeah. College football is hard, man. It's hard to sustain success. It's hard to win games, which is not an excuse. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But that 2020 season, we had a lot of things go our way. Couple, I mean, just bounces in a game. I mean, outside of the Miami game, the first game, we had flags that got thrown that went in our favor that in 2021 really didn't. I mean, you look at, I think of the NIU game that we had in 2021, where we went down the field, scored, took the lead with, I think, 55 seconds left. We got it down to like a 4th and 7 and had a really, really iffy roughing the passer call that got called on us. And then that put them in field goal range. And outside of that flag, I mean, we would have won that game. Puts us at 7-5. Our non-conference that 2021 year was difficult. I'll tell you, playing at Penn State was awesome, but playing at Wyoming, tough game for me. But honestly, just a tough game physically, because when you play at altitude and you're not used to it, it is a different animal. You get so exhausted so quickly, and the first thing that kind of fails is like your mental state of like being locked in. You're just trying to get some air, and you're not feeling the same as you normally are, which is difficult to play that way. So we had a difficult non-conference that year. Started out the MAC, the MAC's the MAC, and it's one of those that you never know really from game to game what's going to happen. Somebody who's blows a team out by 40 the next week might lose to somebody who's 1-7. Just because I think that's a testament to the MAC. It's a league where everybody's so close in competition. And I think that was the difference, is we just had bounces that didn't go our way in that 2021 season as opposed to 2020 where it did.
Yeah. And hey, I want to back up just a little bit here, because there's a handful of things about 2020 I really want to cover with you. I actually really want to write a book about the 2020 Ball State season, not only because it was obviously we win the MAC and we win a bowl game, but just all the stuff that leads up to it. So that kind of leads into the first thing I've always wanted to know from all you players was, when you first hear the MAC come out and say we're not playing football in 2020, what's going through your head?
Honestly, I thought it was done. I thought college football for me was done, because I didn't know if they were going to do it. We didn't, at that point when they had announced that the season was over or not happening, we didn't know if it was happening in the spring. They said they would readdress that situation. So I thought I was done, either playing at Ball State or playing college football altogether. I had considered, transferring and going somewhere else to try to play at a bigger school who was playing, who had decided to play that season, see if that would work. So just like a rush of emotions all at once was difficult, because we were trying so hard. We'd gone through the summer when they announced that we were coming back, which is kind of difficult. I mean, you go through the summer and you do all the things you're supposed to be doing, and then you're just like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, you just put so much effort into getting back to that point. You go through 3 days of camp, and you're like ready to put the pads on and start going, like you're ready to go. And they just pull the rug out from under you. Was difficult, but that was kind of the rush of emotions was all over the place. I mean, from being done with football to transferring and, not knowing what was next.
I remember there was a big outcry on social media, rightfully so, from all the players. What part, if any, did you play kind of in organizing that and getting obviously the conference to reconsider?
I know that I was on me and Brandon Martin were on a meeting pretty early, but I had kind of reached out to the MAC commissioner when I had heard that the Big Ten was going to reconsider coming back and playing. So I reached out to him and was like, listen, if they're coming back, we got to get back. Like,
Absolutely.
we got to, like, there's no way we can't do this. If there's rumors of this happening, like, that means it's okay for us to play as well. And that was kind of the trend. I mean, when they canceled the season, it was Big Ten canceled the season, then the MAC canceled the season. I mean, we cover the same kind of geographic area. So I was kind of, that was my big push. Whether he heard that or not, I'm not sure, but we were on a meeting probably 2 or 3 days later where it was probably a good number of, it was about 2 leadership people from each team was on the meeting, and they just discussed what was happening and what the considerations were. And even after that meeting, I had a conversation with the commissioner. I was just like, this is something we need to bring back. Like, it's not just me saying this because I want it back, but it's like some of these guys rely on football to be a part of their life. And so when it's pulled out, it's, you get a little nervous about where people are at and what they're doing. And that was a big push for me.
Once football is announced, it is coming back. You guys everyone's back. What's a day in the season of 2020 look like? Like what are the new protocols? What's all the craziness that you guys had to go through just to even get on the field?
Yeah, I mean, every morning we were getting tested for COVID. You go through the test. You find out pretty quickly if you're, you do the test, swab, then you go over, take it to another station. They get a pass. And then you go into the facility and, you have your bagged lunches because a lot of the dining halls weren't open. So we had to get
how are those?
There were days where it was good, days where it was bad. Days where you were really hungry coming out of practice, and other days you're like, all right, I can deal with this. For me, food's food, especially if it's free. So I'll find a way to eat it. You can add some salt or ketchup to some eggs, and it'll be
make it work.
Make it work. But after that, I mean, the toughest part, then you go about your day, but like once you're done, like you go through meetings in the morning, then you go to practice. Once you're done with practice, you're not allowed to be in the facilities. Like that was kind of like the recovery aspect. Like you could do it, but it was kind of limited. Getting your film sessions in, you had to be on your iPad. I never liked using the iPad to watch film. I like being in the facility on the big screen where you can have the projector and you can go on the whiteboard and write. That was always, and so that was a different aspect for me, learning how to just handle that on my own. A lot of times sitting at home where I had actually been graduated as well. And I was in the MBA program. All my classes were online. So I was just, spending 6-7 hours in my room on my iPad, watching a show and watching film. So it was a different thing to get used to, for sure. But a difficult part of it was like somebody would get tested in the morning. If it was a false positive, they weren't allowed to practice that day. So you may have somebody like Justin Hall who gets a false positive, and like 2 days before the game, you have a critical practice and he's not even there to go through it, like run through timing or anything like that, figure things out. So it was like I would say that was almost the toughest year to play football. So when like if people put an asterisk on it, to me, everybody went through it. And it was a tougher year to handle playing football than it was any other year, I think.
What's it like with no fans?
You got to be doing it for the love of the game. You got to really love football to be doing it in front of nobody.
Yeah.
And it's bring your own emotion, bring your own energy. That was kind of, especially, so Indiana, we were allowed to have fans. I think the Ball State was at half capacity, but I mean, that was kind of full capacity for us.
Yeah.
For a lot of those years, not to talk bad on it, but that was just a reality of it. And then trying to think of where else I know Michigan was not allowed, so we only had 2 games there, which was Central Michigan, and the MAC championship was. I wish there were people there for that because that was a fun game. But I mean, we made the most of it. We had fun with it. But I think outside of the Central Michigan game, we really had fans at most of them.
Okay.
We played Miami, which was Ohio, which had fans, and then Toledo was the other away game that had fans.
So you're talking about the Michigan schools.
Yeah.
Walk me through the last, 15 seconds of the Western Michigan game. Where were you? Explain that. Explain it to me.
Listen, I was sitting on the bench. I was not on the field.
Right.
I was sitting there. I think it was me, Johans, and Justin Hall, just kind of sitting there, hoping that nothing happened. And I was watching the video board. I saw the forward pass. I knew what it was, and I saw the flag, and I just like kind of put my head down. Just like a lot of relief came out of that. Like we made it, we did it. Because that was, we were down most of that game until kind of the end, and there was a lot of relief. A couple tears were shed, but like out of excitement, just joy. And then everybody ran on the field, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Then the guy calls it a touchdown. I'm like, what? There's no way that. Yeah. And then they called it back. But I still, even to this day, probably every 3-4 months, I don't know if it happens to you guys. If I'm on Twitter or X or whatever,
it pops up.
It literally pops up. It's like, can somebody still not explain this to me? I was like,
yeah,
I could, but you probably wouldn't understand.
So I have my own unique story of what was going on, what I was doing. I was actually at another college football game watching on my phone. I was at the Miami. I was watching. Yeah, so I was watching the Miami, North Carolina game, and I'm watching the Western Michigan thing happen, and the feed just cuts out.
Yeah.
And it never comes back on. So when that play happens and there's all mass chaos, and then we just, nobody knows what happens that it was watching on TV. So
I've got a side story too. So like my cousin was getting married, and she had kind of moved. It stinks because she had moved kind of the wedding around so that both me and my sister could be there. Because we're close to our cousins, and they wanted us to be at the wedding. But with the change of the season, we weren't able to make it. So my dad and my brother stayed back. They came to my game. And then my sister and my mom went to the wedding, and they're same thing. They're at the wedding, literally about to walk down the aisle. Like my cousin would not walk down the aisle until the game was over. And they're like watching on the phone in the back, and like it cuts out, and they're like, what happened? What happened? Like, we have no idea, but we've got to start going. So she walked down the aisle, and they didn't know for like whatever. I don't know how long the ceremony was, but 15, 20 minutes, because they had to put their phone away. My mom had to put her phone away, and nobody knew what had actually happened.
Yeah, it was nuts. All right. So we ended up finding out we do win that game against Western Michigan.
Yeah.
We get to the MAC championship in Detroit. What's the thing you remember the most about that game? And when did you know we're going to win this game?
I think going like the whole week, the whole preparation week. I mean, we were 13 and a half point underdogs. And it was like, that was a personal disrespectful thing.
Weird line. It didn't really make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, it was like we knew Buffalo was good. We knew they had a good, we knew Jarrett Patterson was good, but watching film and going through that week, it was not like they were beating teams up. Like I think, and I want to say it was a lot of the Kent State Buffalo game where it was like 70-40. But if you watch, when we watched that game, like you couldn't pull anything from the tape because they were running cover 0 and putting 8 in the box. So if you got through the second level defender, like, yeah, it's going to be a touchdown. So you end up having, 7-8 touchdowns or whatever, just because they were running cover 0. They had no safeties. They didn't throw the ball. So when we saw that, it was that for us was like a really confident boost. It was like, oh, like we can go out there and we'll stop them from a defensive aspect. And, on the other side of it, offensively, we were playing really well, back-to-back years of playing really good football. I mean, we had Justin Hall. So, I mean, that guy's just a playmaker all around. And then that year, Will Jones stepped up in a big way from running back and being a pass protecting running back, and then being able to run the ball as well really well. So that whole week leading up into preparation, and then the first drive we go down and score, it was like, yeah, this is like, we've got this in the bag. We know we're going to figure this out. Like, let's just go. Let's keep playing football and let the clock and the scoreboard tick down.
Shame on me, I forget his name, but number 6 that year, he was like a receiver.
Johannes Tyler.
Yeah, fire. He was another weapon. He was another weapon for you.
Yeah, I mean, like that was our best play call from that season, and probably the season before, would be like an inside zone with an access route. And it was basically, if if the corner was off 6 yards plus and didn't come down and press, he was running a hitch. If he was inside of 5 yards, he's running a fade, and I was throwing either one of them, especially the fade route. And that's what we scored on the first drive was just access route. You just throw a fade up to Johans. I mean, he's 6'6" going against, or 6'5" going up against MAC receivers who typically aren't above 5'10".
Yeah.
Right. And then, Drew, we rolled that MAC championship into a truly dominant Arizona Bowl win.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because almost from the get-go, our defense was smacking people. You came out with a good energy, with some swag, and we just started killing them.
Yeah, defense was on a different level at that point. I mean, that was back to a couple games in a row where defense just started. I mean, balls were bouncing our way when it came to fumbles, ton of interceptions. I mean, I think Anton Phillips had 2 interceptions, maybe 3 in the last 4 games, but 2 in that, either 1 or 2 in that bowl game with a pick 6. I think we had 5 picks in that game. I can't, man, that was one of those. We had so much fun. First bowl game, and we went out. We were like disappointing. We only got out there like 2 days before, so you couldn't have the full bowl experience. But we went out there again. Everybody's like, I think we were like 10-point underdogs again, and it was just like, this is so disrespectful. We keep doing this to teams. Let's do it again.
Yep.
And we did. I mean, went right down the field, scored. We were just so confident that year, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. One of my most fun years playing football.
That game was over from the jump. It was over basically instantly. It was never even close. What's the one thing? Obviously, we'll get to the post game of it. During the game, what's the one thing that stands out to you from that?
Man, no fans in that one too. In that bowl game, I think it was just like we were playing fast and free, and we were just having so much fun. Like, we were just like, people were on the sidelines wearing sunglasses, just like we were just having a blast playing football. There was nothing better.
All right, you get your hands on the trophy post game.
Yeah.
There's been some good quarterbacks to play at Ball State, and good quarterbacks from Ohio to play at Ball State. Nate Davis, Keith Winning, and then obviously Coach New, not from Ohio, but Coach New plays as well. You're the only quarterback in program history to win a bowl game. What are your thoughts going through your head while you hold this trophy?
I didn't even think about that. I mean, I still, just the amount of time we put in as a team. I was more thinking about that, like where we started as a group. Because I think that year we had 20, how many was it? 26 technically seniors, either redshirt or true seniors, with all of the guys who were in the 17 class who had experienced that 2-10 year and how brutal it was. I think that was like, all of us talked more about that and like where we came from at the start of our careers, at the start of Ball State, to where we're at now. That was more in my head than being the first at playing quarterback. I mean, yeah, I thought about it, but what we were able to do and accomplish from 2016, 2017 year to the 2020 and even 2021, like, still proud of the 2021 season. It was difficult. Things didn't go our way, but the way we were able to still go to back-to-back bowl games for the first time in 10 plus years, or whatever it was, maybe 8 years, but able to win one was, and that's something I'll cherish forever.
Yep. I appreciate that too. Thank you.
You think about the fact that you're responsible for the last 2 good seasons for Ball State. Like, who knows if next season it'll be 6-6, but for years now, 2021's the last good season we had. Do you think about that at all?
Not really. I mean, I yes and no.
Are you still watching?
Yeah, I still watch. I mean, I can't not watch. I mean, I can't not watch the games. I root for them. Every year it's less and less players that I played with, but I still want to see Ball State successful. I mean, that's awesome. That's my alma mater. I want to root for them. And I love being able to talk smack to anybody that we go play and they want to bet against me. And I'm like, all right, I know my team. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, I don't think about it as much as you may think, but, it's definitely cool to think about. Somebody brings it up. It's like, oh, that, remember that year? I was like, yeah, that's a blast.
So your Ball State career comes to an end. You end up with the Cincinnati Bengals. I assume, is this a childhood dream of yours to play for the Bengals?
Yeah.
I watched your touchdown back last night. And so I'll give you a little background about me you might not know. So I worked in the NFL for a handful of years in the equipment rooms. When you threw that touchdown, and the receiver's name eludes me right now, but you scooped that ball up really quick. Where is that ball right now?
Oh, it's in our it's in my living room. Yeah,
I figured as much.
It's until we start having kids, that's staying in the living room as long as possible.
It's up on the middle.
It's on display.
On display.
Nobody's.
Is there anything else that stands out to you? Obviously, again, it's a childhood dream. You threw your touch. Anything else kind of notable that happened in your time with the Bengals? I know you weren't there super long, but obviously it's a huge part of your life, I'm sure, that you tell everyone about forever.
Yeah, I mean, that was a true blessing and a great opportunity that I will cherish forever. Not just the first time, but the second time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to run out on that field, wearing a uniform was just, I mean, dream come true, like you said, and have the football to keep forever. I have a jersey now to keep forever. And being able to just, like, when I was there last year to finish the season, I'd go in there and like just kind of look around and be like, I don't ever want to leave this if I have a choice.
Right.
I didn't have the choice, but it was one of those things. Like, I was like, I love every second of being in this facility, being a Bengal. That is, like, I know how much it means to the city just because I grew up in it. And so that was just awesome. That was, that's all I can really say about it, is how blessed and how grateful I am for that opportunity.
Yeah. I got one more question, and then before Colin's going to he's got some rapid fire questions he's going to throw at you. But one more question on the main part of this interview. What's the difference? What's the difference in your eyes between playing the XFL and playing the UFL?
Those two are the same.
They're the same now?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the XFL is because they merged with the USFL.
Okay.
So the XFL, UFL is the same.
Okay.
The different, I don't want to, the XFL / UFL / USFL, it's still growing and it's difficult. There's, the difficult side of it is you get little resources when it comes to what you probably need for football. Even less than what we had in college at Ball State. From a recovery standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, there's not as many resources there. I mean, we had 3 offense coaches and 3 defensive coaches in the XFL, or in the UFL, whereas you go to college and you got, 8, 9 on either side. But again, grateful for those opportunities to continue to play football, to pursue that dream of playing professionally and making money off of it. And, I wouldn't have it any other way other than being able to play. And so can't say anything bad about it. Just it's, there's some things that it's still growing and I think it's a great league and I hope it continues to grow.
Drew, before I hit you with the rapid fire questions, are you still continuing your playing career? I know you just played with the XFL this year. Is that something you're still interested in doing, or are you interested in being maybe a coach like your parents? What's next for you?
Still trying to figure all that out. It's one of those you never want to walk away. So if somebody calls, I'll definitely answer the call, and it's got to be a good situation for me to go to and pursue. If an NFL team calls, I'm probably going. XFL, it's got to be the right situation. Coaching, I'm still, I want to be around football in some aspect. And I don't know if college coaching with the NIL and the recruiting is necessarily something I want to pursue right now, but I could definitely see myself continue to do that. Potentially, want to look at getting into some private training here in the Indianapolis area or around, and just offer some help for some of the young quarterbacks and things, give them help in ways that I didn't have, whether it be board material or just development in general.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, we ready for the rapid fire?
Rapid fire round. Here we go.
So I think you wore both helmets. What's better, traditional Cardinal or the Dancing Charlie?
Dancing Charlie, without a doubt.
Give us your ideal Ball State uniform combination.
Oh, best one I always loved was white helmet or black helmet, didn't really matter, both, but the black jersey with the white pants.
Ball State teammate you stayed in touch with the most?
Nolan Given.
Toughest road environment you experienced at any level?
NC State.
Have you played college football 25? And if so, what's your go-to team outside of Ball State?
I mean, I don't have one. It's if I'm not playing with Ball State, it's random. But I do play it, and I'm not great at it.
They need to put like the championship team in there so we can play as the retro.
I always thought that was a thing too. Is like throw in some like the top 25s of the years you missed. Like put those in there so you can.
Did you know you or your team is responsible for us getting paid more for being in the EA College Football 25? Because if you end the season in top 25, any of those years, there was like 4 levels, and we were in the 3rd level because we ended 23 that year, so they paid us more for being in the game.
That's nice.
What was the reaction to your Pat McAfee shout out?
I had a lot of text. I laughed at it. It was awesome. I mean, it was cool. Cool opportunity.
Are you still afraid of the dark?
Yeah. Still walk up the steps looking backwards.
Your favorite movie?
Oh, Pearl Harbor.
Crazier play, the Loveland onside kick recovery or the Western Michigan madness to send you to the MAC title?
Crazier play in everybody else's book, probably the Western Michigan. In my book, the onside recovery.
Start, cut, sit. High school state title, MAC championship, NFL touchdown.
Oh, gosh.
That's the toughest one we got for you.
That's probably the toughest one I've gotten. Man, I'd probably have to start the state championship just because it led to everything else. Probably have to cut the NFL touchdown and sit the Ball State MAC championship.
Okay. All right. So Drew, this has been awesome.
I got one last one, brother.
Okay. Well, yeah. So you got one more on there. That's right. Oh yeah, you do got a couple more.
Never have Skyline chili again, or lose your pinky finger.
Lose my pinky finger. Take it.
That's the last one I got.
This last one. All right. This has been great. We have 2. I like to end the interviews with 2 questions. One's a little bit more lighthearted and one's a little more serious. So I'll start with the lighthearted one. So you're featured in multiple football card sets with Panini and Leaf and Pro Set. Kind of quickly explain the process of getting picked to be in those and kind of how it actually works signing all the cards that are out there.
Getting picked, I don't know how that process works. Somebody reached out to me for the first set. Somebody had reached out, via, I think, Instagram, kind of DM. Was like, hey, I work for Leaf. You want to? You would love to have you in this card set. You want to do it? I was like, sure. So they sent over a contract. That was kind of the first and one of the few NIL deals I had. When it came to outside of that, when I was going into the NFL and doing training and all that, my agent dealt with all of it. So he was like, hey, I got a couple card deals. Here's what they are. Here's what they're paying you. Here's what you got to do. Outside of that, what it is, I signed 24,000 signatures, which is, I mean, that's pretty small compared to probably what other people are signing. But for me, they send you like this deck of 30 stickers, just the clear stickers, and you got to write on the specific with a specific marker on the sticker. There was just a massive stack of them. Mm-hmm. I knock out like 50 pages of 30 every day. And then they put them on, you could probably see them. They put them on there and it's you can kind of see a clear thing. So that's how that works. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wait, one last question, John, before we thank Drew.
Well, we have our last serious question, then we're done. But go ahead.
If you could speak to any prospective player out
that's
there.
What it was. Yeah.
Whether in high school or the transfer portal, and explain to them the benefits of choosing to come to Ball State, both as a football player and after your life is over.
Well, football life is over. Not your life is over.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
So the kind of the benefits of Ball State and speaking to, oh man, I think what you get at Ball State is a lot more personal than what you'll get anywhere else. Where people, we did dinners with donors where like they literally have you at their house, and it's not just a pay you money to play well for my team. The people that care there and that come to the games literally will do anything for you outside, whether you're playing well or not. Even in the 2017 season, like the people that care in Muncie and come to the games, they really care about you as a person, not just as a football player or as an athlete. And even even the students there, like when we stunk, it was still like somebody found out, you played football. Like they were still, you could joke with them, but you could have a real conversation, and it's not the falseness of or fakeness of you're just an athlete. And that's kind of, some people don't want that, but some do. And that's, to me, that was an awesome thing to experience, as you get to be a real person and experience a different side of fandom where people actually care about who you are and not just whether you're playing well or not.
Perfect. We love it. If any prospective players are out there listening to that, we'll clip it for them. We'll put it out there for them. We'll clip it for them. So yeah, Drew, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all that you did for Ball State. Thanks for helping us finally, win a bowl game.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It wasn't just me. This is our team, but I appreciate you guys doing this and bringing some attention to Ball State. It's a great university and have a lot to thank for it.
Yeah. Perfect. Yep. We're doing what we can. So that concludes our interview with Drew Plitt. Drew, you and your family have a Merry Christmas, and you tell your dad next time I get in a bidding war with him over a helmet, I'm going to win.
All right. Sounds good. You guys too.
All right, Colin. I know you're a big Drew Plitt fan. You were really excited when I told you I thought we had landed this interview. How did it go? What'd you think of it?
Man, I was just excited to meet the man, the legend, the guy who got us our last bowl win. I think he seemed really cool. I'm interested what his next move is. Is it going to be coaching? Is it going to be still playing? But I think we learned a lot just about who he is. We went through his whole life pretty much, and his football life at least. So I thought it was cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had been wanting to know for a long time about kind of more of the ins and outs of what happened in that 2020 season, because obviously we go 7-1, we win the MAC, we win our first ever bowl game, which is all super interesting and something that I think all Ball State people want to hear a little bit more about. But even before any of that even started, they were told basically that they weren't going to play. And Drew says in the interview when that happens, he's like, I just thought my football career was pretty much done. He's like, I was going to try and grasp at some straws and see if I could figure out something late. But he's like, it just pretty much spelled the end for me. And then just go from that point to where we end up. He ends up playing in the NFL. If that season doesn't happen, does that, or gets in training camp with the Bengals, his hometown team. If that season doesn't happen, does any of that happen? I don't know. Like, who knows if that ever even happens? So I thought it was really interesting. We're going to keep trying to get whatever names we can find to come on the show. So if anyone has any suggestions of people they'd like for us to try and track down, let us know. Drop them on a comment wherever you see this video, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever we're at. Let us know who you want to see. So, Colin, do you have anything else this week for the Ball State Cardinal fans out there?
I think that's it. I'd love to hear from current players as well. So if any current players ever do want to come on the team or on the show, or see like players that just actually might have left last season and they're tuning in, they're maybe seeing some clips and they're interested, it'd be cool to have them on here as well. So anyone really, just reach out to us. We're trying to get the best interviews we can. I mean, Drew Plitt is one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. As a 2018 grad, I didn't even really get to see Nate Davis as much as, the other Ball State diehards really were, because at that time I wasn't living in Muncie. So that might've gotten overshadowed by the city I was actually in. So, he's my GOAT, just for the reason that when I started watching Ball State, I got to see him play. I got to see him ball out. And so it was a dream, really a dream come true to be able to interview Drew Plitt. And we're just hoping to see more people that, we care about, that we're excited for. I mean, even people like Keontae Newsome, who left last season, I would love to see him come on the program. Danny Penners of the world, who are out there in the NFL, we'd love to have them on. So I think you'll see that too. If you stay with us, if you stay with the Ball State of the Union, we're going to start landing some of these big fish, and I think Drew Plitt was one of them.
I'm going after Willie Snead. I've been trying. I've been hitting some roadblocks, but I'm going to land Willie Snead. I'm going to get him for us. So Willie Snead, if you're watching this, hit me up. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for your support this year. I think we're going to try and have maybe one more episode come out before the new year. We'll see. I got some stuff in the works to try and get it done for us. But thank you again. We're wishing you all a happy and safe holiday season. Hopefully Santa Claus brings you everything you want. If you get any cool Ball State stuff for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you decide to celebrate, send us some photos. I want to see some cool Ball State memorabilia that people get. But yeah, otherwise, that's us signing off here. Chirp, chirp. Like the video, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, and we'll see you guys all again soon.